Cool. Oh God, everything is running so slowly. Hello? Okay, yeah, so the two things that we're gonna need is one, make sure that your 2D animation, there's a little check bar next to it. You can ensure, like double check by clicking on it and making sure that the bottom of the button in the bottom right says up to date. Yeah, so you know that that is there. The second thing that you're gonna need is something called 2DIK. This 2DIK stands for inverse kinematics. And this is what will be used to set up the skeletons for your characters. If you guys can't find it in the project manager, in the package manager, even if you search it in the search bar up top, that is because this is a preview package, which means it is still needs to be tweaked. There's still some bugs to it that it can't fully incorporate to Unity. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to go to the advanced little thing up at the like top middle area, and then click on show preview packages and make sure there's a check mark. Once that is the case, you should be able to search 2DIK, and you should be able to find it. So let me know if everybody can find that. Go to Window and then Package Manager.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, can everybody find that okay? Is everybody having like?
Where's the check mark to?
Yeah, so if you go to, you know, at the top of the Package Manager where there's like a tab that says Advanced, you want to click on the Advanced tab and then click on Show Preview Packages, and then just make sure there's a blue check mark next to that. That means the preview packages are enabled. Preview packages are packages that are still unstable, that still can't be incorporated into Unity. So Unity releases them as kind of previews for you to test and play around with. Yeah.
What was the package you said that we needed before 2DIK?
2D animation. It should be like, it should automatically be there when you open a 2D project, but just in case it isn't, yeah.
And what exactly is 2DIK?
2DIK stands for 2D inverse kinematics. It's essentially just what will allow you to set up the skeleton and the rig for your model. Unity 3D has its own equivalent version. Also a preface, the reason why I'm not going over the 3D side of things is a lot of them use like a lot of the base mechanics are the same. Like you will set up skeletons the exact same, you'll set up weights the exact same, but then 3D, of course, given the extra dimension, adds like a lot of complexity sometimes in setup that I think is just not necessary to really go into right now. But I assure you that with what you guys learn here, you will be able to apply it to 3D fine. 3D just has like some extra capabilities that you guys will need to play around with, involves code a little bit more as well. Cool. Does everybody have 2DIK and 2D animation installed? Yes, yes?
Yep.
Cool. All right. So now that that's installed, we're going to go to the night file, and we see something called Nightfall, or Nightfall 01 if you want to be pedantic about it. Cool. You're going to want to click on it, and then in the inspector, you're going to want to go to Sprite Editor. Yes. All right, so you know, hopefully everybody knows what the Sprite Editor is. And then at the top left of Sprite
Editor. Sorry.
No, it's okay. So you want to click on the Nightfall image, and then you're going to want to go to the inspector. It's like kind of middle. It's right under Sprite mode. It's like in the.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
My project took like an extra moment to update.
Oh, it's all good.
I felt bad about stopping everything.
No, it's okay. Like honestly, any of you guys, if you have any questions, just ask. Like I'm here for questions. You know? Okay. And then once you have the Sprite Editor open, you're going to want to go to the little Sprite Editor tab on the top left with the down arrow. And then you're going to want to click on Skinning Editor. Skinning Editor will not exist if you do not have 2DIK downloaded. So if it's not appearing, check to make sure that that's there. I just want to click on Skinning Editor. It's going to take a while to load as well. Please, hold on. Okay, there we go. All right. When you guys click on Skinning Editor, you should see like a bunch of things open on the left that says like bones, geometry, all that sort of stuff. I'll go through these, you know, one by one. You guys will understand. Okay. So, yeah. So
the editor isn't showing up, but it says I've installed it.
Skinning editor isn't showing up as if you have installed it. You went to, okay. You went to Sprite Editor and you're clicking on the down arrow. Do you see all the other ones, like physics, shape, and all that stuff?
Physics. Oh. Wait,
You
what?
don't see physics shape as well because I'm pretty sure physics shape is also an IK.
Yeah, I only
Install.
have Sprite Editor, custom outline, custom physics shape, and secondary textures. Those are the ones I have.
Interesting. See if you can remove it and then reinstall it. If any of you guys are also having this this problem, let me open up Package Manager again. You guys can click remove and then install again, just in case it doesn't work. Also make sure it's version 2.202. Sometimes previous versions can also ruin it. But yeah, just in case any of you guys are also having these problems. Yeah. Okay. I'll give it like a minute. Yeah. And while this minute is going on, I'll describe a few of the ways that you guys can have skinning editors work. The first way is the way that I am doing it right now. So I uploaded a PNG image with like each individual part of the model. Don't worry about them being separated like this. It's necessary, like it has to be like this. So that's like one way, is just giving it a PNG image that's a full sprite sheet is what we'll call it. The second way is you need to you need to upload them as modified PSD files, so Photoshop files. It needs to be uploaded in a PSG format. So that means the extension after it has to be .psg. This fundamentally doesn't have any difference than a PSD file. The PSG just means it's a Photoshop file that is above a certain megabyte threshold, I believe. I believe it's like 2 megabytes or like 20 megabytes. Above that threshold, it will be a PSG file. For if you work in certain environments, like I know if you work in certain drawing modes like GIMP or something like that, you can't actually export in a PSG file. You can only export it in a PSD file. What you just have to do is just have to change the extension to PSG. It'll work perfectly fine that way as well. Simply because there's no fundamental difference between that and a PSD file. Yeah, so those are the two ways that you can upload and like have these sprites work in a skinning editor. So far, I don't think you can have it where you upload each of these individual parts as its own canvas, as its own image, and try to splice them together that way. And it has to be like one full spreadsheet. Yeah. Does anybody still have the skinning editor problems?
Yeah, I still have it. I re-downloaded it, and it's, I don't know. Is anyone else having the same problem?
Yeah, that's very strange. Do you have 2D animation like updated as well?
Do you have like an old version of Unity, Aiden?
Oh, that might also be a problem.
I'm using an old version of Unity, but I just updated both.
Yeah, I do have a slightly old version of Unity. It's not that old, but let me see about updating the.
Yeah.
We've lost him.
Yeah. But yeah, make sure like you guys are on the latest LTS version, which is 2019.1.42 or something like that. But yeah, Aiden, try like getting the latest version of Unity as well and just restarting the project and seeing if that works for you. If you have any questions later on, also like come back and I can help you with that as well. And so can like Evan or Emily. Just like DM like us or like in the Discord, just like ask. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'm just gonna hop into the explanation for these things a little bit. So in the bones, we have a preview pose, we have edit bones, create bones, and split bones. So first we're going to go to the create bones, and you're just gonna click on the torso area near the bottom of the torso area. It is hello. Why?
I fixed it. It was the animation software. So.
Okay.
Cool.
Why are you not drawing? Hold on, give me 1 second.
Mine doesn't draw either.
Same.
That's super interesting.
Wait, I missed it. What are you trying to do right now?
I'm trying to draw this. Here.
Using which tool?
Using the skinning editor. It's not. I don't think. Yeah, it's not when you. Why am I running into all of these problems? Okay, sorry. Give me 1 second.
But when I double click, it works.
Oh God, are they already all set up? My bad. I thought I deleted them. So that's cool. So I thought I deleted it. My bad. I didn't mean to do
Okay,
that.
so you just send us like
I'll
the
send you guys
image file.
Yeah, I'll send you guys the image file, and if you guys can pull that, my bad. I apologize. I didn't. Okay.
Are you gonna send it on Discord?
Yeah, I'll send it on Discord. And you guys can pull that image file again. I apologize. I didn't mean for this to happen. Okay, 1 second. Grab it. Yes, I was wondering.
So if you double click everyone, you can see a nice little preview of what we're gonna do
Yeah.
later.
My bad. I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I believe this is the information you guys will need. If Discord will cooperate with me, please. No, you won't. That's cool. Like, that's fine. Okay. Let me know if you guys, if that's a valid PNG file for you guys. If it'll upload, please. Oh my God. Sorry, my computer is so slow when I have like Zoom and Unity running at the same time.
I didn't get the PNG.
What do you have?
I'm trying to upload it right
Oh, okay.
now. Yeah, if my computer will.
Athena, how much RAM do you have?
You know what? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It's not letting me upload it.
How do you
That's
play
the reason
video
why-
games?
The reason why I mentioned it is because I had 8 gigs and then I literally upgraded to 16 and everything like works.
Oh, really? Okay. I cannot.
Athena has 1 gig.
Yeah, I don't know at this point. I cannot send this on.
Wait,
Discord,
like if you
so-
just close Zoom or something, will you be able to do it? And you could just come back into the
I mean,
Call.
sure. Yeah, no, like Discord, like is saying it's like too large, if that makes sense.
I have Discord
Oh.
Premium.
Oh,
But I don't know how you're gonna get
Thanks,
the file to,
Emily.
I don't know how you're gonna get it to me to get me. a
No, it's okay. I just uploaded it onto Google Drive.
Yeah, put it on
and
Google
it should
Drive
go
instead of Slack.
to- Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry guys about this. I didn't realize this would happen. Just for the brevity of things, I think I'll just delete all the bones that I have right now, and I'll just work off of the existing model.
Wait, can we just delete the bones?
You guys can do that too if you want. Yeah.
Isn't that simpler?
Yeah, I mean, if you guys want, it's just like some of the geometry will still exist, so I don't know if you guys like want to work off of that as
Oh.
well. Yeah. But seeing as I'm starting with bones, it's like it should be fine.
How do we delete them?
If you just click on it and then press the delete key,
Okay, I'll delete mine.
if it will work, and it's not working, which is super convenient for me.
Okay, I deleted my bones.
Yeah, it's just you guys can like delete the bones. You guys don't have to download that as well. That like also works for you. The only problem is like you guys will see some existing geometry and it might be a little annoying. Yeah, I could also just go, I think you can just like edit geometry. Yeah, you can also go to like edit geometry and then like it'll show up in blue. You can just highlight everything and then you should be able to delete those as well.
Yeah, I deleted everything. Yeah, I think that's
yeah,
easier.
Cool. All right, yeah, so, pull the PNG, don't pull the PNG, it's up to you. Hopefully you guys have like a model that looks like this. It should be completely blank. It just has like a small orange outline around everything. And does everybody, have that point? Is it everybody at that point?
I'm good.
Yep.
No,
Cool.
how do you
Yeah.
delete the bones?
You just click on a bone. You should see it. So if I make one right here,
What was the geometry thing you said to do? Because deleting them wasn't working for me.
You just
Okay,
highlight
so-
the whole thing and then you press delete.
yeah. And then to delete a bone, you have to go to edit bones, click on it. You see it highlighted by the same orange color, and then you have to press the delete key. The backspace key will not work. Honestly, the system is like a little bit clunky in that sense, but as long as you press the delete key. Same thing for geometry. If you highlight everything and then press the delete key, it should delete everything as well.
Okay, we're good.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so now we're gonna go to create bone. You should see like a small red black dot. And then you're just going to click on the bottom of the torso.
You highlight?
Sorry?
How did you highlight?
Oh yeah, so highlight, you just click on it. Click on it.
Ah, I see, okay.
Yeah. The thing is you can delete them in both edit and create bone. But yeah. Cool. So it's going to create like a little like kind of round pyramid-esque shape. So yeah, and then it will automatically create an anchor off of that. The reason why we don't want to have like directly connected anchors like this is if I go to preview pose and I start to like, oh no, nothing is connected. Okay, hold on. Ignore what I'm doing right now. If I go to and I try to like pivot this, it looks kind of clunky because it's no longer pivoting. It's no longer pivoting along like its own axis. It's pivoting like along like this weird empty space right here, which can make for weird movement, especially later on. I'm just explaining why. Huh?
When I connected my like yellow bone to the torso, like it doesn't move with the torso. The bone just moves.
Right. So the reason that this is the case is because you haven't set up geometry yet. So think of this as you've created the bones, but you haven't like enveloped it in muscle yet. So it's just gonna do its own thing. What I was saying is you don't want to directly connect these two together because later on, when we're actually working in scene, we're going to be like moving everything closer together and like actually make it seem like a person. So you don't want anything like this, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to go to create bone again. You're going to click on the bone that you want to draw off of. And then you'll see like how there's that like kind of like faded ghostly yellow. That means it's being connected to its parent, which is the orange little like anchor orange bone right now, but it's going to anchor itself at wherever you start clicking and dragging, if that makes sense. So I'm going to
yellow ghost.
It's pretty faint, but here's like a green one is probably like a little bit more apparent.
100% not showing up, but
Like-
it's
like
highlighted. Like the red bone is.
Are you in create bone or are you in edit bone?
I'm in create bone.
Okay, so create bone, you clicked on the yellow bone. There should be. Try drawing off of it. So like drawing like
Okay. Yeah, I have
yeah.
to click again. Okay, wait. Okay.
Yes. So just a quick explanations for how these bones will work. So if you look up here, the black dot is considered its anchor. If you guys were here for the last session with like hinge joints and that sort of stuff, think of this as it's the same fundamental principle where everything revolves around having an anchor, which is the local, which is the point of rotation. And everything off of that anchor, so the rest of this bone, however long it extends, is how much of that model it will be affecting. This will make a little bit more sense later, especially when we start generating geometry for this. But just think about it as the black dot is where it's going to pivot, and the yellow line or the rest of the line is how much of the area it's going to pivot. Does that make sense for everybody so far? Cool. And something else is all these joints and bones deal very, very heavily in parent-children relations. You did a little bit of this with just basic objects in Unity, but think of this as like the same fundamental principles. So currently right now we have the torso, which is the parent of this yellow bone right here. You can tell that it's a parent relation because there is like a ghostly little yellow outline. If I zoom in closer, you can see it coming off of the red bone to the yellow one. So that's how you know there's that parent relation right there. Later, you'll be able to see it even more clearly once we load it into the scene, and like you'll know how to edit, from there. Does that make sense to everybody? Yes? Cool. We're gonna move on. We're just going to same thing, create a bone that's like coming off of the head to the end of the head. And if you wanted to stop drawing bones, just right click and it should get rid of everything, and you can draw your own isolated bone again. Cool. And then likewise, we're going to be doing the same thing for the arms, legs, etc. So if you want to click on the red torso bone again, this one should be bone 1 in the bottom right. You should see a little blue thing coming off of it. And you just want to draw something for the legs. Both legs. Yes. And then something else is you can, if you hover over them, you can see you can move them around. You can only move them around based on the little black anchor. You should see like a little like symbol, like arrow symbols, like coming up next to your mouse cursor that tells you can move stuff around. If you really want to move stuff, is you go to your edit bone, which will move the entire thing as is. And then you can also like rotate it by pressing the little black dot at the head of whatever bone you have set up. This is in edit bone as well. Yeah.
How like precise do we need to be with these bones?
Not very. Like for example, like something like this, it doesn't have to be like perfectly straight. It doesn't have to be very, very exact. Of course, you don't want to. The most important thing is like the anchor is at the correct place, if that makes sense. Cool. Yeah, and we're just going to create bones for the arms as well. So for this, make the body, so the yellow bone, the parent. Yes. Again, if anybody has having any trouble, I'm happy to go back and explain anything that I just explained. And then once you're done doing that, make the, this would be on your side, the right arm, make that the parent of the sword bone. So we're just gonna draw something up the hill. You don't have to like make this, the bone envelop the whole sword. It's not really necessary. It's just whatever area the movement might control, if that makes sense. It'll make sense later as well. Cool. Does everybody have this set up? Do we need more time getting this set up? No? Okay, cool. So something that you can do is like you can try and you can like delete like bones like this. If you delete a bone that has a child and also has a parent, the child will then be connected to that parent's bone. Just as you saw here, I deleted the forearm and that connected the sword bone to the torso bone instead. So, that is something you can also keep in mind. Something else that we're going to do is, as you've seen here, we haven't really separated the top of the arm and the forearm. And so an easy and efficient way for you to do that is you just have to go to split bone, top left, the last tab under the bones tab, and then just, like create bones, like click in the center. It'll automatically split any bone that you have along any length that you want. Cool. Does that make sense to everybody? Mm-hmm. Cool. And then now we're going to go to preview pose. So preview pose is where you can make sure just the bones themselves are working properly. You can, if you hover over things, you can see there's like that little rotating cursor. So you can make sure that like the body is rotating as it should. You can make sure like every single arm is like rotating as it should, the sword is. And then if you want everything to go back to normal, just click reset pose, which is the top left. It should say something called reset pose. If it's grayed out, then that just means you haven't made any edits. All right. So now we're going to go into geometry. Think of geometry as the muscles, again, that we're enveloping on top of the skeleton that we have. We're going to, honestly, auto geometry is pretty useful for everything. To explain some things, if you guys can set your outline detail to something pretty low, that would be helpful. I am setting mine around 20. So these, all these, essentially what all of these are saying is the first one, outline detail, is how detailed the outline will be when this geometry is drawn. I will generate it just so you guys know, can see something. So as you can see, like these are not very accurate. It's, you know, missing a lot of these smaller vertices. However, if I set my outline detail like very high to 100 and I generate again, you'll see, you know, like it's matching this almost perfectly. So it just deals with how accurate the outline is. Subdivide is the same thing. It just deals with how accurate the inside, like the lines drawn inside are, right? So you have the vertices, which make up the outline, and then you have all the edges that make up the actual model and geometry itself. So if I set the subdivide up to like 100, you should see, you know, there's like a lot more of these, like a lot more geometry and a lot more triangles being drawn. If you guys don't know yet, most stuff in, you know, games and in media is like it's drawn using triangles, right? So it's just the more triangles there are is the higher your subdivide. I'm gonna set mine back to the 20 that it is. You don't really need a high subdivide, especially not for a model like this. And the alpha tolerance deals with transparency. If you guys have worked in Photoshop and you know, After Effects or anything like that, you guys know that there's something called an alpha channel. Think of that as like a green screen, right? When you're dealing with an alpha channel of green, then that means anything that's green will seem transparent. This is the same thing. What it's saying by alpha tolerance is just there's like a certain threshold instead, and anything that falls under that threshold will be counted as transparent. So the higher your alpha tolerance, the more things will be considered transparent, if that makes sense. And then the weights, if I don't click on the weights, you'll see that all of the colors are gone. The weights essentially deal with how much a single anchor will affect something else. So let me regenerate. Without weights checked, you'll see that the bones will move on by themselves, right? That's because there's no weights being applied. So the bones have no force, you know, like they can't move the model itself, even though the model has the muscle. And think of that as they don't have the strength to do anything. However, if I check the weights and I generate again, now it has the capability to do such a thing. If I set my outline detail again to like 20 or something and I generate and I'm very unsatisfied with this, sometimes, you know, I don't want the computer to generate, you know, vertices for me. What I can do is I can go to edit geometry. This allows me to pull things in. You'll notice that this will affect the actual sprite. So be careful of that. This will be affecting the actual sprite. Especially if I like pull like vertices in, because it deals with the outline and stuff like that. If I want to create another vertex, so I want to make this line more accurate, let's say, I can literally just create one, and then I can just drag this in to match with the model. Same thing here. Create and drag. Does that make sense to everybody? And then create edge is the same thing, except maybe I want some place to be a lot more accurate. And then I'll just create an edge, and then it's the same thing. And you can drag stuff in. So create vertex, create edge, both deal with just how accurate or not accurate you want the meat of your model to be. Likewise, split edge, it's, you know, if I want to split any edge, so it's all of these just deal with getting rid of, adding vertices or edges. Does that make sense to everybody?
Athena, can you explain weights again?
Yes, I'll go into weights a little bit more next. But weights, think about them as how much strength a bone has when it's controlling a certain aspect of the model. So a better example might be down here. So you see how, let me regenerate this so it's a little more accurate. You see how it kind of like is blue fading into orange. This is just saying like the blue has strength, like has the weight down here, and the orange has the weight up here, if that makes sense. So the orange will be controlling the shoulder, like the blue does not affect the shoulder. Like if I was just to move the blue itself, it will not affect the shoulder. However, you'll see down here in this kind of like gradient area that, you know, like it's the blue will affect it a little bit, you know, and so it's kind of just describing what bones have control over what part of the body, if that makes sense. Like, do they have force behind a certain area of the body? Of course, this model is very simple, so those interactions aren't that apparent, but this example might be the clearest. It's like how much control does, you know, this green turquoise anchor have over this section?
So if you turn off weights, how does that like affect it?
Turning off weights, think about it as my bones have no strength anymore. My weights value has been set to 0 versus 100. So my bones can't control my model at all, even though they're moving here. In my mind, the best way to think about it is I have no strength anymore. I have no strength to control the model that I've been given to control. So it doesn't matter how much I try to move it, I can't.
So what is the point of ever doing that?
Weights?
Of ever turning weights off?
Let's say you want like a certain area to be like not controlled. This could be something like maybe you have accessories on its belt that you don't want like its belt to ever be moving with the model because it doesn't look right. This could also be because you want to go in and you want to make the weights yourself. I'll just hop into my explanation of weights to give you guys like a little bit more you know, I guess like context. Auto weights is exactly what we just did in the auto geometry. Is just we just auto generate weights depending on our anchors. This weight slider deals with how much weight we want to put behind like a certain bone. So back to that topic, if for example I don't want my torso to move at all, like I don't think that looks natural no matter what I do, I can set the amount to the negatives, and that means like now when I move the torso bone, like nothing moves the torso anymore. That makes sense. And you guys have to be careful about changing this amount because it will auto update, in the sense that if I set this to negatives, you'll see that it will reset back to here. If I set it to negative and it's like, you know, -1, it will reset back to 0 in the sense that that is now your point of origin, if that makes sense. So what was -1 becomes 0 in the sense that that is where you're taking all your references from. Think about it as like if you take a step forward, then everything is relative to you taking that step forward now, right? So this is the same thing. So you guys have to be careful about that. There's also different modes for a weight slider. I'll show you what this means. So here, and currently it's add and subtract. So this is how this arm will move. If I change it to grow and shrink, I believe it will, instead of like I guess like morphing the how do I put this? Instead of morphing the model, it will instead, I believe, shrink the number of edges that exist, or like the number of edges that exist. Smooth is, I think, just like another way of doing add and subtract. So those are just different ways of how weight will display on your character. Normalize is essentially, it will calculate and make sure, like even when the arm is bent like this, the weights are still evenly distributed across. So if they're unchecked, you might run into problems there. Of course, there's always exceptions to this kind of thing. You know, it depends on the model that you're working with. For these, we're not going to play around with normalization or different weight modes. But yeah, like these are different ways that the muscles are manipulated by the bones. Does that make sense to everybody so far? Hopefully. Okay. If we don't have any questions, I'll just move on. The weight brush is, again, if you want to customize your weights. So let's say here, I'm like, you know what? I think the forearm should be able to control like more of the arm itself. I can go in with this weight brush. You'll see there's like the little circle. You can change the size and everything down here. And you'll see, okay, let me just, you'll see like it'll like draw in the weights for you. So now more of this area is taken up by the blue, which means the blue bone can control more of the muscle, more of the body of the model. So, you know, if you see now when I move the blue bone, it can morph a lot more of the model as well. You can just Control Z to get rid of it. All the options down here just control the brush. It doesn't really have any effect on how much or less you know, anything is. Size just deals with the size of the brush. So if I set it to 100, you guys will see it's like massive. Hardness deals with, think about it as like the opacity of anything. So if I set the hardness very low, it'll be like, right now it's at 100. So if I draw something, it's like very opaque blue. If I set the hardness lower and I draw something, yeah, if I draw something, you'll see it's like a lot lighter of a blue. So that just deals with like the opacity of the color. But also in model rigging terms, it deals with how much control that specific bone has or anchor has over your model. And then step is just another thing about the size of the brush. Does that make sense to everybody and how you can go about and modify weights?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, and another thing is you don't have to draw it like within like the bounds of this model right here. I can draw a little bit of blue in the torso if I want, and you'll see that it'll move around with the arm as well. Yes. Cool. Yes. And again, you know, bone influence is, you know, also a thing. So what is bone influence again? I believe what is this again? I don't ever use bone influence, so I am not sure that that's. I'll get back to you guys on what bone influence is. Okay. No, bone influence is kind of like the skinning editor used to have like something that showed parent relations, I believe, and the bone influence is just their version of their newer version, I think, of like the parent-child relations. I don't know why it's not showing up here, but I believe that's what it is. The interface looks very similar. Regardless, you guys will not need to use it here. So, you know, yes. Does everything about the skinning editor make sense so far? Does everybody have it set up? And it looks like this to everyone? Yes? No?
My blue outlines are like not as nice as yours. What did you do to do that?
Yeah, so if you go to auto geometry and if you just set the outline detail to 100, so like the max, and then click generate, it should be like pretty accurate to something like this. The reason it's so high is because this model is very simple and it's not very large. I would say exercise caution if your model is going to be very complex or a lot of stuff like that. Yes. Does that make sense? Anybody, any more questions for everyone? Anyone? Okay, cool. So now, now that your model looks like this and you think it looks fine, you're just going to go to the top right and you click apply. What this is going to do is it's going to create a new meta PNG that will contain all the information that you have laid out here in your, you know, with all the bones and the geometry and all that stuff. And you should be able to just close out of the Sprite Editor for now. I think we will have to come back to it. Just give me a second. I just need to make sure. Fuck. Okay, never mind. It's fine. Cool. Yeah, so just close out of it. And now what we're going to do is we're going to drag it into the scene. Yes. We have it dragged into the scene. I just set the scale to 0.25 because it was so massive. It had no right to be that big. Yes, I'm gonna move you guys a little bit lower. Cool. Hopefully everybody has that set up. And now what we're going to have to do is we're going to need to give it a sprite skin script. Don't worry, there's no actual scripting here. This is just so like we can see the bones, if that makes sense. These bones need to exist as actual objects in the game for us to manipulate, right? So what we're going to have to do is have a sprite skin script, which will create all of those objects for us. So you're just gonna have to click on create bones, and it should automatically update everything for you. This is a component, by the way, of the knight. You cannot, this will not work if it's not a component. Yeah. So is that working for everybody? Cool. Excuse me. Cool. So now that we have this, what we're going to do is you guys can open it up. You guys can see like the hierarchy of everything, all the bone objects that are showing up, et cetera, et cetera. You can also click on any single one of them, and it will highlight automatically for you as well. Right now, we don't need to really worry about that. What we're going to do is, that's not it, is we're just going to edit our model and make sure our model looks correct. A way that you can get rid of these bones, or like seeing these bones, is you just have to press the little arrow next to the sprite skin. It will just like make those bones vanish just in case you need to edit the model itself. And then you just click the little arrow again and they'll come back. I'm just turning that off so we can just look at the model. We need to like drag everything a lot closer, right? So what we're going to do is you have to click on the little black anchor of everything and just drag it to like where you need it to be. You don't have to be like very accurate about it. And in the meanwhile, you can also make a default pose. So what this means is you can just give it the pose that you want. I see we have a question. Zoom, please work with me.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So it looks like we currently have the sword like childed to the shoulder instead of the hand.
Oh,
is that
it?
what you intended?
That is not what I intended. Thank you for that catch. So cool. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna delete that real quick. It's a good thing we're not very far into it, although you can also just edit it by clicking on the sprite itself, and it should like update for you when you click create bones again. So no, that's not what I meant to do. I'm a dumbass. Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna go and fix that real quick. So if you just go back to the skinning editor, and then you delete that bone, and then just create one off of the arm itself. I apologize about that mistake. And then click apply. Oh, no, don't click apply yet. You have to regenerate the geometry because you've deleted the bone. You need to make sure that all the weights are distributed again. And once that is the case, and once everything looks nice and everything's highlighted in a certain color, just click apply. And then re-import that into the scene, do all the same stuff. Give it the sprite skin component, create bones, and it should come back. And now this should be the correct parent. Yes, so now it should have the correct parent. I apologize for that. Yeah, so yeah, and now just go about and just like set up your model the way that you want. So just drag the head closer. This is also where you want to set up your default pose. I will explain why this is after I finish this. But essentially, well, actually, I'll just explain it now. So the reason you want to do this is because the way that skeleton rigging works is if any of you guys have used Flash animation, or if any of you guys have used Adobe Animate, it's not actually like the computer is not like manipulating the model itself and like creating like it will, but it needs you to record frames for it first. So it needs to know like what points to rotate to, if that makes sense. So if you set the default pose right now, it's just a lot easier come later when you need to like create animations based off of the default pose that you have.
Peter has a comment.
Okay, sorry, I don't know why, but it's not really opening up the chat.
Okay, he says my Sprite Editor is just making the Windows error noise and I can't close it.
The Windows error noise, interesting.
Like frozen, and I can't click anything out of it. Otherwise, it makes an error noise.
Is this the Sprite Editor or are you in skinning?
Yeah, I'm on. Oh wait. Yeah, I'm on the skinning editor.
So you can't click apply at the top right either.
I can't click anything. It's just stuck.
Is it giving you any error message?
No error message. Just the Windows error noise. I think I'm just restoring Unity, but
Oh, I'm so sorry.
all my bones disappeared. Like, or what happened was like I was trying to edit like the vertex, and then everything disappeared, and then it froze. Like,
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I think Unity just kind of crashed there. If it's like
Okay.
giving you the Windows error noise. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah, this is still like a preview package, so it does run into issues like sometimes. I'm not too sure why it would do that when you're trying to create vertices. Yeah. I guess like my only I guess like deterrent or like solution for cases like that is if you just set your outline detail lower to be conservative and then go in and just like manually do the vertices yourself. It might save like a little bit on the computation and on Unity like kind of throwing a hissy fit. I'm sorry, Peter.
That's good.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Question. So I'm arranging the like stuff right now. How
Yes.
do I make sure like I want the arm to go under the torso, but it's going over it instead.
Aha, you have fallen into my trap. Okay, so that is the next topic.
Okay,
that I will
hold on.
be.
Zoe says she can't delete a bone.
You have to press the delete key. You have to highlight it and press the delete key. You can't press backspace, right click, any of that.
And you have to be in edit bone mode.
Yes, you also have to be editing your bone. You can also do it in create bone. But it has to be like a modify bone state. Not working. Okay, sorry. I don't have a Mac. I apologize. Yeah, the commands are a little bit different. I'm sorry. Yes, hopefully that works. Yeah, and next topic is, like Evan said, how do you ensure that, like, right now the legs are going over the, belt, the arms are like clipping weirdly. So what you're gonna have to do is let's open up the skinning editor again. And essentially,
Athena, can you just like pause for a minute and let everyone catch up?
Yes, I'm sorry. Okay, hold on.
Why can't
Zoe,
I find my Sprite Editor again?
What was that?
I'll pause for a little bit.
Oh,
and
I
let
got it.
everybody
I
catch
got
up.
it. I got it. I'm caught up.
Zoe,
Yeah,
did
again,
you
like,
figure it out?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah, again, like just like let me know if like you guys need me to stop. I realize this is like a very new topic that is very unrelated to anything else that we've like really done, or just any other aspect of like game dev as well. So yeah, so let me know if you guys need more time. Yeah, I'll give it like another minute. Oh, and if you guys want to prepare for the next step, just drag the Sprite Editor tab so you guys can see it next to the scene. This is necessary just so you guys can see it when it updates and stuff.
Me trying to see Athena's screen and also my scene and also my Sprite Editor and like the chat all on the same screen.
Oh God.
I wish
It's
I had
time
a
to get
dual
a
monitor set
widescreen.
up.
Yeah, it's time to get a dual monitor setup, yeah. Cool. All right. If anybody like has any more issues or problems, feel free to stop me. I will be going on. But again, just stop me if I'm going too fast. So to fix this issue where you have like things clipping in front of each other that shouldn't, et cetera, this deals with layers or depth, as it is called, when it comes to the bones. Depth is synonymous with layers, so how layers work within Unity is exactly how depth works in Sprite Editor. It just goes by a different name. So for example, my feet here currently have a depth of 2, and that seems to be going over my torso, which has a depth of 0. So all we had to do is just set the depth to -1. Actually, let's set these. How should we do this? Yeah, -1 is fine. And -1 for both of the feet, and then we click apply. You should see that the feet have gone behind the like waist now. If this one still hasn't, then just set it lower again. So I'm just going to set this to like -2. Apply it. Oh, I guess it didn't really matter. Never mind. It's just the way that my sprite was set up. Cool. Yeah. Let me actually.
How did you change the default pose of your sprite in the scene?
Yeah, so you just drag stuff down and like drag it into the default that you want. I believe if you want to so if you go to the sprite skin, if you want to update like the way bones are, I believe you can just drag and drop the bones, like the bone transforms into these slots, if that makes sense. However, so like if I go to bone 1 and let's choose, if I go to this bone, okay. Interesting. Okay. Sorry, 1 second. I should be able to just. No, I can't do that. Let's see here. My bad. That's not how you're supposed to do it. But yeah, you guys can like update the transform by just, I believe, dragging these bones in. So this one is bone 10. So I've just dragged the bone 10 transform in. It will update the transform that it has. However, when it says reset bind pose, it will reset to the state that you imported it as. So just be careful about that. Yeah, so you drag these in to maintain the transforms and stuff. Yeah, cool. And then to go about fixing the layers again, oh God, why does this arm look like that? Just go about and you can, let's adjust this torso layer up. So let's give it maybe like a depth of 1, or let's give it like a depth of 2, actually. Yeah, and that should appear in front. And then the left arm. Something you'll notice is that if you change the parent, it will also change the children. So even though I'm only adjusting here, you'll see I'm only adjusting the orange bone. So let's maybe get this like a depth of 3, and then enter apply. You'll see that if I go and I move the forearm bone, it will also be in front. Is it? Am I completely wrong and a fool and I should stop talking? I am wrong and a fool. No, you also have to change the Oh, it's because I specified it before. Sorry, there's still some stuff left over from like the previous model, so some of these depths are kind of weird. But just change the forearm as well to 3 as well. I had said it before, so it's kind of carrying over till now. And that should, yeah, and now it should be in front of everything. Cool. Yeah, cool. So is everybody good on that front on adjusting the layers? Does our model seem to move properly as it should? Also change the sword to like a -1 depth as well. Yeah.
I'm good.
We're good?
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. All right. Now that that's done, now we're going to actually begin animating it. Yes, we're finally at that point. We have gotten over the hurdle that is, you know, like actually setting up the model in and of itself. But let's be real, that's like half the battle is making sure the model is working properly. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to create something called the IK Manager 2D. So you just add IK Manager 2D to the night. And it's a script, but again, you guys don't have to worry about it being script. It has a list of inverse kinematic solvers. What this means is it has a list of all the animations that you want to give it. So there, when you click on the plus sign, you'll see a bunch of different ones. You'll see 2 chains and you'll see 1 limb IK solver. The limb IK solver is really best for up to like 2 or 3 separate bones or anchors. Anything more than 2 or 3 joints it's just too computationally intensive. So 2 or to 3 is kind of your sweet spot there, or 1. The difference between CCD and Fabric is, I believe Fabric is a little bit more flexible, but CCD is a little bit faster and more efficient. So that's like kind of your pick and choose there. If you're going to be doing like complex model movement, I suggest Fabric. It's pretty straightforward, but you still have to move a lot of parts. Like let's say you have like a spinning wheel that has like a lot of spokes, then I recommend chain CCD. So first we're just going to create a limb IK solver. So you'll see it will create a new object. It's called a new limb solver. And we're just going to call this left arm solver. Okay. Cool. If you guys were here for my Effector tutorial as well, you guys will know that effectors essentially are things that will manipulate the environment it is bound to. This could be transform modifications, this could be rotations, could be, you know, like stuff like that. This is very much the same. So you have created a left arm solver. Think of it as the overall wrapper or the parent for all of the effects that are going to be happening to the left arm. And now we need an effector to associate with it, right? So what we're going to do is if you go to your night, let's just reveal the bones again, and then click on the bone 10. Once it's highlighted, you want to go to the plus sign on the top of your hierarchy, plus, and then create empty child. And we're just going to call this left arm effector. And then you're going to want to pull this effector to like maybe like the edge of the anchor that you're affecting. So the very tip here that you're going to be affecting, or as close to as possible. It doesn't have to be like very accurate. Yeah.
I don't even see where you're pulling. Like, where are you pulling from?
If you can't see like something that you're pulling from, just go to the like top left bar where you can have the different move tools. You can use the second one.
Oh, okay.
Just
I see it now.
You can also add like a gizmo if you want. Hold on, how do I add gizmos again? I have forgotten. Oh no, I've forgotten how to add gizmos. My bad. Or I know how to do them in script. I don't know how to do them in.
Is this effector? It's just an empty object as a
It's just
child
an
of
empty
runtime?
object. It's just an empty object. Essentially your solver just needs to know what object it's attached to, if that makes sense. And so it will use the effector in that sense. Cool. All right, if you guys have your left arm set up, and it's crucial that it is again connected to the tip of your forearm joint. Click and drag that left arm effector into the effector portion of the limb solver. Or sorry, the left arm solver. So it should have the transform kept there, and you should now see like it should like the anchor should all be green as well as your effector, which should be surrounded by like a little white circle. Let me know if you guys don't see that.
Wait,
And
I'm
you guys-
behind. How did you move the effector?
Yeah. So if you just click on your left arm solver, just click and drag on the left arm effector into the effector portion. If that makes sense.
Okay, and you said it had to be at the tip of the arm, right?
Yeah. So just at the tip of your joint, if that makes sense.
Needs to be what?
And like your left arm effector's transform position needs to be at the tip of your forearm joint.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is like a good rule of thumb for all effectors. Put them at the tips of whatever you're going to be moving. Cool. All right. Does that, are we good? Everyone there? Cool. So yeah, you guys can like experiment with this and see if it's like actually moving. And you guys will see that yes, it is. You know, I am definitely, you know, moving around this arm. It's, you know, doing all this fun, crazy stuff. So you'll see that's like kind of like doing like weird, it's kind of like flipping on itself and like all that sort of stuff. And we don't really want that. So what we're going to do is just here, we're just gonna, yeah, sorry, you're just gonna uncheck flip if it's been checked. Or do we? Yeah, I guess it doesn't really matter in this case, seeing as it's a very simple model. But things like flip, constrain rotation, solve from default, you know, position, just deals with how your left arm solver is going to be moving the rest of these joints. As I move my effector up, how is it going to be bending the arm? As I move my effector, you know, like left or right, how is it going to be affecting my arm? Stuff like that. Yeah. So constraining rotation, just make sure is that like, this is like, if you uncheck it, then yeah, I think it just deals with how some joints will rotate. So they will not rotate unless your effector is rotating as well, etc. If you constrain it, the weight deals with, you know, how much it can move the rest of the effectors. As you can see, it has very little effect on the shoulder, etc., etc. Yeah, and then yeah, and so you can restore default pose. So this was my default pose. Yeah, all of these things just kind of affect how this little anchor joint bone right here, it's not really a bone, but like how this anchor right here is going to be changing and modifying the joints. So I'm just going to set it up there, and you can give it that target. So what this means is that's the target position that I want to be at given a triggered animation, if that makes sense. So all you have to do is create target, and you'll now see that this will be the target transform. And it will create a child that will detail the position of that transform. Yes. Is that making sense to everybody so far? Yes. Cool. Cool. All right, now we're just going to be doing the same thing. But we're going to be doing the same thing for the sword arm. Yes. And another reason why we do this is less so that less so that this is us animating right now, because we aren't. We haven't put anything into an animation sequence, etc., etc. It just makes it so that let's just compare these two separate arms right now. The arm on the left, I just have to move the effector and it will move the arm dynamically. However, my thing on the right, if I move the sword, the arm's not going to move, you know? If I move this, my shoulder, the rest of the arm will move, but maybe, you know, I want the sword to tip down and I want, you know, the forearm to be up. And I have to go through and have to edit all of those joints myself. Effectors and solvers make it so that the Unity itself will just calculate these things for you. So as you move the sword, the arm will also move with it. And as natural of a way as I can get it to be, if that makes sense to everybody. So yeah, so that's why you have these things. Okay, so now we're just gonna go back to the night, scroll down to the IK manager, and we're just gonna create another solver. We're gonna create a CCD chain solver at this point. We're gonna name it sword arm solver.
Wait, how do we make the CCD chain? Wait.
Yeah, so if you click on the knight component again, so not any of the bones, just the knight itself, and you scroll down to the IK manager, just click on the little plus sign in the same place. Yeah, you can change the color of the arms as well. So if I, you know, I can make it bright red if I wanted to. You know, just fun stuff. Cool. Yeah.
I think I did something stupid. Like I realized I moved my like arm a little bit closer in and now I can't move my joints. Do you know why?
You moved your
like the like shoulder part, I moved it closer to the body and now I can't move my joints at all.
That shouldn't affect it because your torso has no weight on your arm joints.
I click it and I just can't move the joint at all. Like it's solid. Both joints I can't move. Everything else I can move though, just those arm joints.
Just the arm joints. Oh, okay. That might be something up with your solver, your left arm solver. Make sure that the effector is attached properly. Make sure that
it was good, and then I moved it closer to the body, and then it stopped working.
So you moved this arm joint.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. Yeah.
And now you can't. Because it shouldn't affect. Because you see how this is also a good explanation for everybody. But moving.
Oh wait, no, it's back. It's back now. It's back.
Okay, so moving the arm in will not affect the effector itself, because if you see here, the only three things that are highlighted are the arm joints and the effector itself. So those are the only things that it will affect, if that makes sense. So it shouldn't matter how close or far you move it. You will notice that the effector might get a little bit far away. You can always just like pull that in or out. It doesn't really matter. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so hopefully everybody has a sword arm solver up. We're just gonna go to the sword component. Sword object. We're gonna click plus and create empty child. We're just gonna call this a sword arm effector. And like always, we're just gonna drag and drop that into the effector portion. So, why are you up there? That's not where I want you to be. No, not that. Sorry, I forgot that you should also remember to drag the effector position to be at the tip of your sword joint. So it should be like up here somewhere. And you can just drag that back in to update transform. Update automatically, but you know, just to be safe. Cool. Cool. Yes. Okay. So now you'll see there's a bunch of different toggles that this has compared to the limb solver. Things like velocity, tolerance, iterations, kind of just deals with how the animation will look. However, to make sure that we can animate anything at all, we have to set the chain length. So the chain length deals with how many joints this effector will affect. So if I set it to 1, it will affect just the effector itself. So basically nothing will happen. The effector is not chained to anything. If I set it to 2, you'll see there's that dotted line as well that shows you the things that's affecting. So it's only going to affect the sword. Likewise, if I set it to 3, it's going to affect the forearm as well. And then finally 4, it will affect the shoulder and the arm and everything. So like this. Cool. Iterations is just how many times your IK is called per frame. The way that skeleton animations work is that you have specific transforms in your animation tab, and your inverse kinematic will try to solve how to get from frame A or transform A to transform B. So if I'm walking from point A to point B, what this script is doing is it's trying to calculate how can I smoothly get from point A to point B. And iterations deals with how many times it's going to calculate that per frame. If I only calculate it twice per frame or once per frame, then it's only going to go from point A to point B, and those are the 2 separate frames. You know, if there's, I'm calling it like 60 times per frame, it's going to have 60 different iterations, etc. Or per second, sorry, my bad. Or per frame, yeah, my bad. And tolerance deals with essentially how much leeway there can be between what your solver is calculating versus the actual animation that's playing. And so let's say you have 3 separate transforms that you want to reach. Can you like be like maybe like 0.2 off from the transform of, you know, part B, so you can get to C a little bit smoother? Like, is that okay? That's what tolerance is. So the higher your tolerance, the larger standard deviation you can have. Velocity deals with like how it deals with the speed at which something is getting to the position that you set in the end. It'll make a little bit more sense when I actually open up the animation tab for you guys, but that's just a base explanation, and everything else is the same. Yeah, so you know, now I can adjust the sword arm down, let's say, and then you know, maybe that's where I want it to be at, and I just drag, I say create target, and now I have a target there. Cool, I can restore default pose, etc. Does that make sense to everybody? Yay, nay, yay. Cool. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start animating this, like actual frames, and it will show up in the scene. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to click on the night again, and then make sure that down here it says to begin animating night, whatever, and click on create when you make sure that's the case.
How do we open the animation? Like,
Huh?
How do we open the animation tab, I guess?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I apologize. Just go to window, I believe it's, yeah, just window, animation, and animation. Yeah, and then you can just drag, drop it wherever, you know, it doesn't have to look the exact same. Yeah. All right, so after that, you're gonna click create, and then just click on the animations folder that I have set up. If you guys usually, by default, Unity will not set this up for you, so you can just right click and then just click create or new and then folder or whatever. And then we're just gonna call this sword attack. And just click save. And you should see like this kind of frame, like ruler thing kind of pop up. You should see something on the left that says sword attack underneath here. If you go to animations, the animations folder, you should also see there's a night full animator and a sword attack animation. So just make sure you have those as well. Cool. Something else is if you guys know the basics of animation, you'll know that there's certain frames that are, or frames per second that things are usually animated within. For some reason, Unity likes to set that frames per second to 60, which is insanely high. So what you can do is you just go to these little 3 dots at the right of the ruler that you guys see here. Click on those little 3 dots. Make sure you're setting it to frames. So you're seeing them by frames and not by seconds. And then on the set sample rate, just set that to 24. So sample rate is the same thing as frames. So samples per second, frames per second, kind of the same thing. Cool. Do we have that? No. Okay. Yeah, so again, stop me if you guys are running into issues. But now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating the sort attack animation. So what you're going to have to do when it comes to skeleton rigging is you're going to have to click on this little record button right up here. And then maybe at the 8 position, we're going to change the position of the arm. No, that's a little bit too much. Change the position. That's not what I wanted. Okay.
Wait, how did you move your cursor thing to 8? Mine is like not. Oh, okay. Wait, no. Yeah, how did you move it to 8?
You just have to click somewhere in the ruler area.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah. Okay, I feel.
Yeah, sorry, my bad. Yeah, so you can just like, move things. You can just animate this however you want. Like, it's not really that. And you'll see that down here, everything will auto update for you. It will record your starting position, and it will record the places that you're moving things to. And you'll see that the effectors are working as they should, right? Because they are essentially like if I move the body like this, the effectors will move with it, et cetera, et cetera. The arms will move with it. Yeah, and you can just make your own little animation. And then let me just, yeah. Yes. Obviously I can't teach you guys the like I can't give you guys like a crash course on how to make animations look like animations kind of thing right now. But like I can give you kind of the basics. For something like this, you always want the ending scene to be the same as the starting scene. So your IK solver, your inverse kinematic solver, knows a place to return to. So how we're going to do this is once you've finished setting up your animations, I'll give you guys like time to do this as well. You're just going to click and drag until a blue box has covered your starting positions, your starting transforms at the 0 ruler mark. And you'll see those highlighted when they're all blue. Control C, and then at any point you want, just Control V, and you'll see it'll be returned to its state. You can go back and check on each individual frame by just hovering over where the dots are at. Yeah, and you'll see that the IK solver is already at work, because if you go to the in-betweens are what we call in animation frames between key movements. So if I'm reaching into my pocket and pulling out something and showing you, the key parts of that animation is me with my hand in my pocket and me showing you something. And the in-betweens would be me going like the movement from my hand leaving my pocket and appearing in front of you, right? And those are what we call in-betweens. And so you see the in-betweens between the key frames that you guys have set up, which is the frames that you guys have manually made. The IK solver has already begun and like started animating between them. So if you guys can just like click through and see this happening.
Question in the chat.
Oh, sorry.
It isn't letting me record. Can't click on anything. Did you hit the big red circle?
Yes, I clicked the circle right here next to the preview button. If it's not letting you record anything, make sure that your A on the sort attack animation. Okay, so make sure that you have the night selected as, or you don't need the night selected, but make sure. Make sure that you're like if you click on the night and you go to the animator, make sure that the controller is set to night full and like that's correct. were you able to create a sword attack animation? All of that is fine. So, I ran into this problem before. What was the problem? What was the issue?
Did you like create the animation? Like, did you somehow accidentally not create it or something?
Give me 1 second. I'm not too sure. Give me 1 second. I ran into this problem before, but I'm not. Can you try closing the animation window and just reopening it as well? Yeah. Also, if that doesn't work, then make sure that this little button right here is not locked. If you lock it, then you will not be able to like do anything really. So make sure like that button is unlocked. Yeah. And yeah. Cool. Oh yeah, while it still doesn't work. Try deleting the yeah, try deleting and just re-importing, like recreating an animator. So how you would do this, just go to the Nightfall, delete this component, add component, and then, yeah. I'm not too sure why that does not work. Yeah, okay, yes, that does have to. Sorry, I thought you did that. My bad, I'm sorry. But yeah, you do have to be like selecting somewhere within the night, yes. Okay, yeah, and then now you can, once you guys have your, oh, another question? Yeah, it's a problem that happens. You know, if everybody has their animation set up and these are the frames you guys are, you guys are satisfied with, you just have to press the little record button again to stop it from recording anything. And you can just press play and it can play like back and forth your animation. You should see it animate for you. Let me pull out so you guys can see like what it is. If you guys aren't satisfied with that, you guys can of course edit it. I'm not going to bother with like really tweaking it right now. But something that you can do is, this is a little bit more of an explanation about the animation tab right here. Is you can just click and drag. So you highlight everything. You can just hover over the blue bars on the side. And using those, you can drag stuff in closer. This will essentially, it will do it relative to everything else, if that makes sense. So as you saw, it will try to maintain the same amount of space it had between keyframe, this keyframe, this keyframe, and this keyframe, but it'll do it proportionally. So if I drag this in, you'll see like now it's like proportionally close together, proportionally far apart. But yeah, you can just drag everything like closer and tighter if you think it's like not fast enough. I would not recommend changing your sample rate to do this, simply because if you have other animations, you now have to work under the same sample rate, or else things are going to look really weird. So I highly recommend, instead of changing your sample rate to be animation specific, instead of changing your frames to be animation specific. That's my little tip to you. It's a little bit too much. So I'm just gonna black her back out again. Yeah. yeah, and so you have, like something like that. You can, of course, go about and edit these things individually as well. If I go to this tab and I can just, like rotate just, I can go to this tab. Oh, I have to be recording, my bad. You can record and you can like edit it and it will do that for you. So if I play it again, it'll do the new animation for you. Yeah. Cool. Something else, yeah, let's go over some of these other things as well, is there's multiple properties that the animation tab has. We're hopping into a little bit more of this lecture portion because a lot of these other properties require code to be able to operate them properly. For those who are code savvy, what this means is oftentimes you create an animation, you need to say, I need to trigger this animation within Unity scripts. It'll be like animation.trigger and then the name of their animation. Here you have a lot more properties as well. Usually the only ones that you will ever really pay attention to, especially in 2D, are transform and sprite renderer. Although it will have the properties of every single child object and component that can be modified within an animation. Yeah, and so sprite renderer deals with frames. So if I added a sprite renderer tab and then I created frames, that's how they would work. To show you guys something similar is I can go to, if you guys will go to create new clip. So you would click on the sort attack name and then click on create new clip. Let's call this frame. I'll just call it frame attack. So it's a frame by frame sort attack. And if you guys will go to Night PNG, which is in the assets folder, it's under the Night files, Night PNG. And you want to just click and then shift click everything that's a Night attack, and then just click and drag them into your tab here. I'm also going to set the sample rate to 24 again. You'll see here that this uses a sprite renderer. You can tell by this little, like purplish symbol, box symbol at the left of it. This will now play. Hello. Oh, I think it's because it's like tiny. Yeah, this will now play the like the frame by frame animation.
Wait, how did you make it so there's like a swoosh?
It's just part of the picture, like it's just part of the images here. I created a new animation that was the frame by frame, so I'm trying to show you guys.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm trying to show the frame by frame way of working on things. So the frame by frame pipeline is you will create all these animations outside of Unity. Once you've imported them in, you just shift click all of them, drag them in. If you didn't create a sprite renderer beforehand, Unity will automatically make one for you. Call it whatever. In this case, Nightfall 1 sprite. Yeah, and then it will, if you guys can like play through it, and it will do the same thing.
Oh, I did it.
Yeah. There's more that you can do, which is like curves, which deals with. This goes a little bit deeper into just pure animation territory, but think of these as if you have a exponential graph, let's say, there is a and you say I only want to create a new frame when the y-axis has increased by a certain amount. You're going to be calling a lot less frames at the beginning of the exponential graph, right? Because the y position does not increase that much versus near the end of the exponential graph when it will increase like crazy amounts every like maybe 0.01 manipulation on the x-axis. So curves in animation work the same way. If you can create curves that will then essentially allow you to create frames or call frames depending on the level of the curve that you have. It's honestly, using dope sheets is just like fine. Very rarely will you need to use them, except for maybe in rigged animation, model animation, you'll see that, if I can scroll up, please. Yes. So you'll see here that we have curves drawn out for us, and you'll see they will be associated with certain positions as well. So you guys can like change and modify these. If for some, let's say that I don't think my sword animation is smooth enough, you can go about, you can drag these curve points. And so now it will be a lot faster within this space because there's like a higher slope versus something like this, which has like a very slow, gradual slope. Does that make sense to everybody?
What are the units of measurement on the axis?
The units of measurement, these are frames. So frames per second is the unit of measurement that you will be using. Unity calls them samples per second.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what does it mean when or on the y-axis when it's like negative? Are you like dropping frames or?
No. It doesn't deal with negatives or positives. Think of it as just I guess just like absolute values. It really just deals with the difference from point A to point B.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? Cool. All right. So something else is you also have these buttons here that are add keyframes and add events. You guys honestly will also not really be needing these except for maybe in frame by frame animation, you might need to add a keyframe. What that does is it will essentially create, let's see here. So yeah, it will essentially create, like, I think in this case, it's just a copy of the previous frame. You can add a bunch more to test. So it just creates new frames for you guys. If I wanted to create another keyframe here, what this means is going back to the pulling something out of my pocket analogy, because again, this is a lot more of like core animation principles than it is Unity. Let's say I wanted to change my animation, so I now stop in the middle of me passing something to you. That is where you can create another keyframe. So that's another key moment that you want to animate something. So that's just an example of that. The reason why you'd use it is because now when I've created that keyframe, I go back to my curves and I look at my curves again. Oh boy. If I go back and I can look at these. Oh my God. Okay. Let's zoom out a lot there. I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, I don't know why it's so zoomed out like that, but you should see there's like another event here. That is where I set the new keyframe at. So you can use that if you want to change the curves and levels between certain things. Yeah, if that makes sense. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. And something else that I personally will not be going into, but I just want you guys to know about because it is, again, a lot more code intensive, is the Animator. The Animator, if you guys see here, I already have, it will automatically link things for you if you have an Animator component and you have animations. So in this case, my Nightfall now has a sword attack, a frame attack. And you'll see that the frame attack is not actually associated with anything. You guys can create associations by clicking and dragging. A lot of these essentially just deal with transitions. If I can create Booleans that say is attacking. And if is attacking is checked, then I will go to the sword attack animation and stuff like that. These are transitions. So on start, it will go directly into its sword attack animation. If you right click on something, you can click and you can say make a transition. So maybe I want my sword attack to be able to go into frame attacks, and something like that. Any state means that any state can go to a sword attack animation. However, you cannot make a transition back to any state. That is invalid. And if you guys have any experience with state machines, for the computationally intensive people, this is a state machine in and of itself. something I would recommend, as somebody who's used this and has run into trouble with it as well, is I personally would not set up transitions. If you're doing 2D animations, these transitions and the state machine works a lot better in 3D because it allows for smooth transitions between models, between model states. But in 2D, you're usually going to be working in frames, right? Like even when we're doing our sword attack here, we're still working in frames in the end. So in 2D, instead of doing any of these transitions, just disconnect everything and instead call animation trigger, which is a function. And yeah, and that's about it on what you guys really need to know about the animator. You guys can of course play through with it.